So this is my testimony video. I know I have made a testimony before, but I feel like that one just didn't fully explain why I am the way I am, why I chose to follow Christ. And also I feel like I've learned so much and grown so much in my faith since I did make that video that I just have so much more to share, and so I just want to make another video. So yeah. Going back to about elementary school, I was always the girl that was known to chase boys around. I was always the one that guys were always dared to kiss and all that kind of stuff. I was never really made fun of for it, but it was just known, I guess, that I was boy crazy or whatever. So I made it through elementary school, and then once I got to 6th grade, I started losing friends, gaining friends. There was a lot of change in my life. Somewhere throughout that, I started getting made fun of a lot and bullied and picked on. People always just said my full name as an insult or something. So that was very hard on me because I always felt the need to prove to people that I don't deserve to be picked on and stuff like that. The summer after 6th grade, I started developing very bad eating habits because of a medicine that I was on for my ADHD. It just made me to the point where I was never hungry at all, and I started losing a lot of weight and all this stuff, and I was just in a very unhealthy point of my life. And I had been on this medicine since elementary school, so my body was very used to the feeling of not being hungry. So it got to the point where even when I wasn't on the medicine, I was still not hungry because that's just what my body was trained. That's how I grew up. It's a habit that I'm trying to break, and sometimes I'm just not hungry, and it's really hard for me to force myself to eat, when you're not hungry. And then once I started 7th grade, I started seeking attention from guys. Any guy that would look my way, any guy that would give me any type of attention, I would always pursue that person. And I was with a lot of guys back to back, and I just got that reputation, I guess, that I date a lot of people for really short times, and that reputation just kind of stuck with me. So the summer after 7th grade, I went to church camp, and that's when I got saved, on July 12th. And I was worshiping in chapel, in evening chapel, and I was never really big on worship until then. I was always kind of the kid that would just stand there, kind of awkwardly. I was standing, and I felt the need to kneel. So I went out of the chairs and I went into the aisle, and I just sat on my knees, and I didn't know what to do. So I just kind of sat there, and I was just looking around, and I wasn't saying anything. I was just kind of sitting there, and all of a sudden, one of my friends, she put her hand on my shoulder, and I just started bawling my absolute eyes out. I was just sitting there on the ground, bawling my eyes out, and for some reason, I felt so safe. I felt so comforted just crying on the floor. After worship, they did the service, and then at the end of the service, they did that whole speech about if there's anyone here who wants to give their life to Jesus, stay afterwards. So I made the decision to stay afterwards, and I talked to my counselor, and I got saved. And that was just the beginning of my walk with Jesus. So that happened the summer after 7th grade, and when 8th grade started at the beginning of the year, I really started struggling just sadness and depression, and I started seeking love from guys because I felt like that was the only way I could find love. And I started giving like my body away to guys, and I just started like throwing myself out there. I'd take any guy that looked my way, any guy that seemed to care about me. And around like a month into 8th grade, I started self-harming. And I did it because I felt like that was the only way that I could fix my problems. And I wasn't going to church at this time. I barely touched my Bible ever. I didn't have that many friends that were strong in their faith. Like, I was just kind of like floating through life. And then in January, I met this guy, and we stayed together for 3 months. He led me into a lot of sexual sins and just a lot of bad thoughts. When we broke up, I really just lost myself. I had a few nights where I had really bad suicidal thoughts, and it was just a lot for me mentally. And not once during this time in my life did I think about turning back to Jesus, which really saddens me because that's something I wish I definitely would have done. A little bit after, like 2 months after we had broken up and I started self-harming and all of this, and I became friends with a group of people that were not very good influences, and I slowly started developing a nicotine addiction. And the thing was, at the time, I didn't even see a problem with it. Like, I just kept doing these things. I kept self-harming, I kept vaping, I kept relapsing into these different things, and I didn't see a problem with it. So come summertime, I go back to the camp that I once got saved at. I was sitting in chapel listening to the message, and I was kind of like dozing off, kind of doodling. And then it was like we worship before and after the like message or whatever. So I wasn't listening to like the service or whatever, but I really liked worship at this point. So I was standing in my seat worshiping afterwards, and like something just like hit me, and I was like, I really want to strengthen my relationship with Jesus. So that week I made the decision to get baptized in the river, or in the lake of the camp that I got saved at the year before. The week was amazing. It was such a great week. I'm so happy. Like, I had some of my really good friends there to watch me get baptized, and I come out of this week thinking, oh, I'm gonna be such a strong Christian. I'm gonna be so strong in my faith. I'm gonna spread the gospel. I'm gonna be such like a godly woman. It lasted for a week. The week after I got baptized, I was vaping and relapsing and going back to my old self, and I threw God out the window. So summer ends and I go into 9th grade. I'm a freshman in a big high school, still struggling with eating problems and self-harm and a nicotine addiction, still going back to these same things, still getting made fun of for different things. And for the full first half of the year, I am chasing guys. Any guy that gives me any attention, I fall for immediately. And I started getting made fun of for that because people would call me a bob and a whore and all that kind of stuff. So it was like we were watching people get baptized, and we were all kind of sitting on the floor by the stage. All of a sudden I'm sitting here, and it just like hits me. God has been calling out to me my entire life, waiting for me to just take his hand and trust in him. And no matter, like, I got saved, I got baptized, no matter how many times I said that I really accepted him, I really hadn't until that point. I was sitting, like, listening to the baptisms and, like, just kind of sitting there. Like, I could just hear God, like, calling out to me, calling my name, like, saying, like, you were my child. And in the moment, I was just like, whoa, like, it was a lot. And so after the baptisms were done, we stood up and started worshiping. I completely broke down, sobbing on the floor. It was a lot. It was a lot of emotions, and like my friend Libby, she just whispered to me, she said, God is so proud of you right now. And that just really hit me. Because I feel like my entire life I've been waiting for boys and guys to love me. But in reality, God already loves me, and God's love is more than enough. And on top of that, there's so much love like around me in my day-to-day life, and like I don't need to find a guy to love me because God already does. That was the other night at church. And then last night, literally just last night, I'm sitting in my room just kind of like scrolling, and all of a sudden like it just hits me again, and I'm like the same feeling. I'm like, whoa. So I'm sitting here, and I just stand up, and I like go right here. I have a big open area on my floor. I go right here, I just kneel on the floor, and I'm like, God, tell me what you want me to hear. I kid you not, literally out of nowhere, I just burst into tears. And I'm sobbing in a puddle on the ground. And I just start talking to God. I'm saying like help me know that like your love is enough. Like keep reminding me that like all I need is your love, and like show me your love, and like I know you love me so much. And I'm just sitting here, and all of a sudden I say out loud, I say, God, your love is enough, because it is. I go from sobbing and bawling my eyes out once I get to like overwhelmed with joy. So I'm sitting here crying, and all of a sudden I just start like smiling. I'm like laughing and crying at the same time. And it was just such an amazing moment, because I feel like I truly realized that God's love is enough. And that's really all I need in life. Okay, so that was my testimony. If you have any questions, I would love to hear them in the comments, or you can DM me on Instagram, you can hit me up on Discord, whatever you want. I'm always here. Okay, I'm gonna end it here. But like I said, if you have any questions, hit me up. I'm always here for you guys. Love you.